Today's conversation with Ashley Kesner is raw, unfiltered, and unprocessed. We get real about struggling with addiction and what it's like to be both a mother and suicidal. You do not want to miss this episode. Welcome to the Suicide Prevention Lady podcast, where we make intervention easy. I'm your host, Dr. Ricky Turner, and I am a suicide intervention expert. Please take note, I am the thinky kind of doctor and not a medical professional. So please do not take anything in this podcast as medical advice. Now, here's Ashley. All right. Hi, Ashley. Welcome to the podcast. We have Ashley Kesner. Among other things, she has a lot of irons in the fire. We were just talking about that, but she is a advocate for addiction recovery, correct? Did I say that correctly?
Yeah, addiction recovery, any mental health challenge, really.
Yeah.
Especially.
So I found Ashley on LinkedIn of all places, which is a funny place to come across somebody who is an addiction advocate or recovery advocate. But that's where I came across, and I kept I just kept pausing on her post. And the reason for that was because they were just so raw and real. And if you know anything about like Brene Brown or anything in her talks of vulnerability and stuff like that, it's being vulnerable and sharing our true authentic selves that suddenly becomes a magnet for others, right? Like no one gets online to see how are all the perfect people doing in the world. Like I haven't connected to somebody who has it all together today, and I'd like to do that. You know, it's they want to see the reflection of ourselves in others, correct? And so there was just something so raw and real about her, and I just kept coming back, and the algorithm figured out that I liked it, so they kept popping it up anyway. And then I found my uncle, of all people, who lives in a different state, and we don't actually talk all that much. And I see him commenting on your stuff, and I'm like, "What's happening?
Oh my gosh,
and so
that's really funny.
It was. I was like, well, hang on. And so anyway, it's such a pleasure to have you here on the podcast. So to start out, can you give us just a little introduction of yourself and kind of your journey to this point?
Sure, absolutely. Well, I am flattered, and thank you for following me and supporting my content. That's fantastic. To try to keep a very long story short, my story begins in 1987, of course, when I was born, but really picked up in 2019 when I decided to randomly quit my job that I had and was sitting in almost 6 years. I had just gotten to a place of burnout and frustration, and wasn't really sure what next steps I was going to take. Ultimately, that led me to coping with alcohol, which I had been suffering through a career that I just wasn't happy with. And unfortunately, I got to a point where I thought that life and everyone around me would be better off without me. So I attempted to take my life, and I was hospitalized inpatient and made it through that. I always, I don't joke about suicide, but I say that I've sucked at a lot of things, but I'm very glad that I sucked at that.
Yeah.
And so I made it through. When I got home, I just wasn't sure what I was going to do career-wise. I had a daughter to feed and myself. I started a blog called Ghost in My Bedroom and just started being extremely vulnerable about everything that I was dealing with to that point, which included an eating disorder that I had been struggling with for a lifetime. And yeah, it just really took off. People continued to support, and randomly one day, after all the support, I had finished my bachelor's degree. I had worked with people and got my certified peer specialist certification and worked in field helping other people in recovery, which was so rewarding. When I finished my bachelor's degree, I'd made a post on LinkedIn saying, how recovery had completely changed my perspective in life. And that post went viral, and it hit almost 2.5 million timelines on LinkedIn. and my life completely changed from that point. I took a huge interest in blogging, which then funneled my passion for marketing. And I bounced around to a couple different jobs exploring those creative sides and content creation, which were wonderful experiences. I went into my master's degree. I finished that in strategic marketing and ended up landing the job that I am in now, with one of the most amazing HubSpot partners, digital marketing agencies in the world. And I'm a marketing operations strategist today, and I absolutely love it. But there is a passion that still exists with me in just internal culture and making sure people feel heard and safe.
Mm-hmm.
So in about a week here, I'm going to start my PhD in organizational psychology. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to that.
That is so cool. That's a really cool organizational psychology. I love that. If I hadn't gone down the road I did to get my doctorate, I would have been in some sort of communication type, because that was my first love, was communication and communication theory and speeches and all that. So I'm so happy for you, starting in a week, which by the time this airs, you'll already be in it. Oh, that's so cool.
Yes. Yeah, I'm so excited. It's actually, when I started my master's degree, it's called industrial and organizational psychology. And I was going to dive into it then. And then I switched tracks because I really wanted to work for a large agency and work on these phenomenal, huge brands. And now that I've had the opportunity, I just have realized and witnessing it firsthand, working for such an awesome company that has built this great, warm culture, how I want to be a part and nurture a culture like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm doing that and starting my doctorate as a single mom and working full time. And then I also have a new project with a friend from high school. We're partnering up to create a startup internship program to provide recent graduates technical skills to step into a remote world, because we don't have anything like that around here. And so the marketing services and consultancy will fund a project that we call the Tablet Takeover Project, where we're going to be fundraising to hopefully provide tablets to every graduating senior at our high school.
Cool. That's so cool. I love it. I love that.
Yeah.
So you've had this road, it sounds like to me, where you've come up and I'm guessing there's some trauma in here. Like there's some things that led up to this point in 2019 where it was like, I gotta exit, and thank God that you failed at that. Leading up to that time, was there, I guess, if you don't mind sharing a little bit more, like what led up to that moment?
Sure. Well, my self-conscious and body image issues started very young.
Sure.
When I was in high school. It's just a difficult time in general, I think, for teenagers. You're finding yourself, you're trying to come in, you're trying to figure out what circle you belong in. And I was a cheerleader too, which I don't have all that pep now. I have excitement for life, but maybe not that much pep. But I was in this cliquey crowd, but I had this punk trendy side to myself, and creative, always into the arts. But I ended up just being very self-conscious. And so my body image issues started there, because when I would speak about it, I wasn't feel like I was getting a lot of, well, you shouldn't feel that way. Do this. And so I would repress and I would hold in how I felt, and to feel like I was in some sort of control, because my emotions were not. That was the eating disorder. It was my ability to feel in control. Fortunately, that went the whole way through my college years. And that's when I started really drinking, because I realized that, oh, this can help numb all of the crazy internal conflict, and I can let loose. Unfortunately, though, it led to me dropping out several times and having an issue with alcohol. It was unfortunate, and I think I don't think, I know I'm not the only one that struggles with that. I think college years are great for experience, but I also think that, if you're not really prepared for that scene, or if you've had somewhat of a sheltered life and you go into it and you have all this freedom, when you insert alcohol into it too, it's can be crazy. And some people are able to wean out of that lifestyle, and others it carries with them, unfortunately. And that happened to me. But just like anything else, I don't regret it. And I don't regret my life. I don't wish any different, because it's given me so much perspective for today, where I don't drink alcohol. And I had, given it up when I came out of hospitalization in 2020, and I went, I think it was almost 2 years. And then I struggled again. And, I think that's just the road of recovery. I beat myself up about it. I don't count broadcast days. I don't believe in counting days. I just believe in choosing what's best for yourself right now. That's kind of what I advocate for online now, is, I see this perspective of the sober culture is, how long have you been sober? Well, who cares? We only have today. You put so much focus on a number count. If you would happen to fall out of it, and this happened to me, you fall into this shame cycle, and you're like, oh, I have to start all over again. And it doesn't work like that. So I don't focus on the count. I just, take it. I'm an alcohol-free mom, and I love it that way. It gives me the ability to be my best version of myself. So
I really like that perspective too. And for probably a really weird reason. So let's share about Ricky for a second, right? Ricky's she's got some quirks. Okay. I will not do anything unless it's gamified. That's it.
Yep.
So like Duolingo had me in a chokehold. A chokehold because of that stupid streak that they give you.
Oh, I know.
When I lost that streak, I haven't been back.
Oh, I know.
It's a long streak, but I'm like, I can't top that. I can't possibly do that again. And so like, I don't struggle with addiction unless you're talking about addicted to your phone, which is, a whole different conversation. But like, I'm talking about a cartoon bird that teaches you another language, for Christ's sake. And it gutted me that I lost that.
Yeah.
I cannot imagine keeping up with this number because I've chosen like this sober life, and I'm trying to keep track of this, and I get into the 100 or 200 days, and then I don't know if I would recover from that. Honestly, I don't know. You bring up a good point.
Yeah, I consciously chose to, when I was refraining from drinking and sober before, I had hit 554 days was my I say high score now. And I had consciously chose to drink because it just, something had personally happened and in my life, and I wanted to. It was a conscious choice. I don't regret it. After that, I would drink, maybe once or twice a week. But when I did, I was binge drinking. And then I would fall out of it. I would refrain again for weeks, months, and then I might drink, and then it would be more months. So through therapy, I have just learned, all of these different mental strategies to help me basically understand that I'm not sick. If this is not my fault, we live in a culture that is promoting alcohol as a means to celebrate all facets of life. And when you research alcohol, you find out it's a carcinogen, and but that kind of information falls to the wayside.
Yeah.
So, this is my choice. It is a lifestyle choice. And will I be upset if I ever drink again? No, because I know that it will be a choice that is based on, people I'm surrounded with or whatever else.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not saying I'm going to be sober forever, but I just choose to live an alcohol-free life because it keeps my head clear. It keeps my emotions, attached to me in a way that I feel is safe, and I
Yeah.
process better. Not to mention, I'm just getting old. I can't drink.
Don't drink like that anymore.
I can't do the long nights. Past 9:30. See you later.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have two girls. I have a 1-year-old and a 7-year-old. I like to have high energy for them, and you just can't do that when you're tying one on the weekend or whatever else. So yeah, this is life for me, and I keep people in my corner who love that life too, because we are our realest selves.
Yeah.
It's so awesome to be with a tribe like that.
Yeah. Yes. Surrounding the people you surround yourself with. This is a lesson that my son is having to learn right now. But surrounding yourself with the people that you want to be, right? Like if you're looking around and you don't want to have their lives.
Yeah. That's I tell my biz partner, I'll say, he is one of the most intelligent people I've ever met. And although he's younger than me, we're on the same level, intellectual level. And it's just boom, 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 back to back. We like to talk about stuff like data and statistics, and you nerd out. But it's, I've been looking for those people that are growth minded and hit those levels of mental needs for me, because it is hard when you decide to grow and pursue higher for yourself. And they talk about this a lot in different recovery centers and situations, but you're gonna outgrow people that just are comfortable with their lives when you're not, and you want more for yourself. You do outgrow people, you outgrow environments, and that's okay. That's okay. I think sometimes it's, we beat ourselves up saying we have to meet these expectations of everybody around us without factoring in our own. And I've just decided to say, screw that. And I'm going to create my own ladder and keep climbing.
I love it. I love it. So, okay. So going back to that suicide attempt, it sounds like there were some confounding factors that led to that. There was the eating disorder. There was I don't know if you say alcoholism or just drinking in general. I don't know how you want to refer to that, but that type of thing going on at the same time. When you look back on that time and kind of what led up to it. So one of the things that I like to focus on this podcast is how can those of us who have never dealt with suicide but have people in our lives that are going through this, how can we help them and how can we avoid hurting them, right? So kind of starting with that in mind, was there anything going on? Like, did people notice something was wrong, and what type of things did they say or do to you that maybe it was well-meaning, maybe it wasn't, but didn't really help you?
I know that people around me knew I was struggling with drinking. I don't think they knew how severe the situation was, and how alone I felt. And at that point, my co-parent, who we're very, very close, he was deployed and he was away. And I was used to having him to help with Regan, my oldest at the time, our oldest. He was deployed for a year in Poland, and that was adding to it too. So here I am, this, working full-time mom, and I had my parents' help, but just mixed with a career with micromanaging, misogyny on top of it too. But I had to stay there because I needed the paycheck. There was so many factors. I think people noticed that I was struggling with alcohol, and they would tell me, you need to get help. You should do this. I advocate and will all the time to not start out sentences with, you need to do this, you should do that. This crushes and sucks the power away from somebody, and to make their own decisions based on what is good for them. It's not empowering. It is speaking from a level of superiority, in my opinion. And when you do that, the other person does not feel equal or heard. They feel almost reprimanded or like a child. And yeah, I don't speak to my kids that way, and I would never speak to somebody else who is struggling that way. I ask them how I can help, and then I will ask, can I share a little bit about my story? And then, offer up what I can resources wise that I have used, which predominantly has been online therapy. I'll advocate for Talkspace day in and day out. I still daily. It's one of those things that the unsolicited advice, you should, avoid it all day.
Yeah, I say
it to my boss. I wouldn't say it. Just in any facet of life, I just avoid that, starting any sentence out with, you need to do this.
Yeah.
Never received well.
Yeah. I hear a lot of people, you need, or you should. You should blah, blah, blah. You should blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, stop shooting on yourselves and stop shooting on other people. It's stop it. Like, and I have a graphic that sometimes I put in, and it's literally the poop emoji. And I'm like, stop shooting on yourself. Because it's like, it's so rooted in shame. And I've never shamed anybody into better mental health. I've never been able to shame somebody into it. What I can do is shame them into pretending to be something they're not around me. That's it. That's the only outcome that's going to have. You're going to push people away, and they do not feel safe coming to you for any reason. So if that's your goal, by all means. But if you're actually trying to help, telling somebody what they should do before actually listening to see what's going on, and offering your help and your presence.
Yep, absolutely. 100%.
It may not be welcome at that time, and that's okay. You can still be there and listen and support. So
yeah, 100%. I totally agree with that. And the other thing that's I bring up, and some people give me shit for this, but I always tell people, avoid saying I understand if somebody's opening up about their story, because there is no way that you can understand what somebody else is going through.
Yeah.
So I'll generally, when we say, oh, I feel that. There are just ways to communicate that can let somebody know that you hear them. I hear you. But I understand is another one of those that every time if I share I understand how you feel. No, you don't.
You do. Don't think you do. You can even say, and maybe you disagree, but you can even say, oh, I can empathize with that. Because maybe you have been in a similar situation. And you can empathize with that, but you do not understand necessarily, because you have not walked my shoes. Your story may even be worse than mine. You may have been through this way harder than me.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, it goes both ways, but I'm not saying you don't understand as in you can't feel those feelings or you haven't been through something similar. But yeah, you're right. You've never sat in my shoes. You don't understand, and that's okay. That's the other thing, is I need people to get that you don't have to. Like, you don't have to understand where they're coming from. You don't have to get it. It's okay. But forcing someone to go through it alone because you don't, or shaming them because you don't understand it, now that is a problem. So
Right. Yeah, I think it's just one of those general responses though. It's those
yeah.
immediate reactions that when we don't know what to say, we feel a need to serve by finding an answer quickly.
Yes.
And sometimes the best thing you can do is just ask how you can support. Take a breath and let them know that you're here when they want to talk, if they do. Um, that's it. You know, the only
Yeah.
time you advocate for really being proactive about a situation is if it's very clear that they have made a plan
Yes.
to
Yeah.
take their life in that case. And I've been there too, and I've had to act on it, and I don't have any regrets. But I will be honest with them too and say, listen, I have to do this just out of personal love for you because I
Yeah.
want you to stay. So yeah, it's a hard topic, and I think that we're breaching a time period though where it's becoming more natural to communicate about stuff. My life definitely is not as hard or difficult to deal with, but it's different in another way because I have a baby, and I'm still a single mom, happily. No husbands for me anytime soon. I don't need that. But
For those of you out there who are getting on Tinder right now, I'm like, can I find Ashley? She's
no,
not there.
thank you. No, thanks. I like to answer to myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, life gets more challenging in different ways as you grow older and you grow professionally and whatever else. But yeah, I won't lie. I still have like suicidal ideations if I'm having a very difficult day. But then I'm smart enough that it kicks in and goes, "Oh, this is my dumb brain acting up. This is just because I'm tired and I'm frustrated and stressed." And you know, I feel that's natural. That's a natural part of life. To feel overwhelmed and your brain maybe sliding into that arena, but to not, we don't want to park our ass there. We want to be able to come back and say, okay, I'm just tired, I'm stressed, I'm frustrated, and this is what I'm going to do now to make moves and get myself out of it. So yeah, lots of moving parts, and it's taken me a really long time to get to where I am, but I'm thankful and I'm happy, and
Yeah.
I'm ready. I'm always ready for tomorrow to see what progress I'm going to make.
Yeah. I mean, you do radiate. Honestly, you're radiant. I see why people are drawn to you. It makes a lot of sense. And then looking back to that person who was, so broken down at that time, and that was, you said earlier you felt like the world was going to be better if you took yourself out of it. And I think that's another thing that I want to say, those of us who have never been suicidal before, because I have not, I hear so many times, well, what do you have to be sad about?
Oh,
What a demeaning thing to say to somebody. What do you have to be sad about? Okay, well, number one, this is not about sadness.
no.
Please stop minimizing it to you're just sad.
Yeah.
And then, it's so selfish. That's the easy way out. Nope.
No.
That's not the easy way out. That's not what we're saying.
Not at all. And I've been there, and I don't think that people intend that to be hurtful.
Right.
I think they are just trying to maybe put you into perspective. But when you're in that irrational brain and have been sitting in it for God knows how long, it can feel like nothing that somebody says can help.
Yeah.
And that's when professionals are there to help you through it. I'm thankful that I went through inpatient hospitalization. It opened my eyes as well to the fact that it can be anybody. I sat next to doctors when I was an inpatient. I sat next to an attorney. These very high pressured individuals, a high performing perfectionist mindset. That's always been me.
Yeah.
Since I was younger. And I still struggle with that sometimes, but over the last few years, I have really eased up on myself. I do the best I can. If it's not perfect, awesome. As long as I'm getting shit done and moving forward, great.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Absolutely.
like it's not any type of person. This stuff affects everybody, and generally it's really the high performing crew that it affects the most. Business professionals and whatever else, and that can be coping with alcohol or coping with excessive exercise, overeating. They all fall into coping with life.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, alcohol, though, is stigmatized severely. And we still struggle with that, I think, as a whole, using terms like addict and alcoholic to consume someone's identity by this stuff.
Right.
And it's just not serving us anymore.
Yeah.
When, we're not these labels. My only label is Ashley. My mama gave me my name, and that's it.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Things come in and out of life. Things, but nothing. Yeah, you're correct. Nothing identifies us. So you said something. You were like, now I did not love your wording, but it works for you, and I'm going to go with it. Okay. But it does bring up another strategy that I really like that you pointed out, because number one, you said, I still struggle from time to time with suicidal ideation. And I think, I'm summarizing here, but I think it's just kind of a normal part of life. And what people don't understand is, for those who do experience, who experience suicidal ideation, it really is like normal, not normal. I don't want to say normal, healthy mind. People who don't struggle with mental illness, they like, that is a foreign concept to them. Like, wait a minute. So you just like casually want to exit? Like you're just walking through Walmart and you're like, oh, God, why am I here? I should, and that is a foreign concept to them. Right. But what people don't understand is, just because you have those thoughts doesn't mean you have to act on them. And you've got a healthy system in place where you said, that's just my dumb brain talking.
Yes.
I'm smart enough now. And that's where I was like, oh, I don't love that language, but it works for you. So that's cool. I always tell people that voice in your head that says the ugly things, because I do think everybody has that voice.
Yes, 100%.
What that voice says to you is different for everybody, but everybody's got that ugly voice in their head, and they would never talk to other people, especially people that they loved, the way that voice talks to them. Right.
Yep.
And so I'm always like, think of just the most obnoxious name that you can think of. Just whatever that name pisses you off. Like, it just, when you hear that person's name, you're just like, punch them, right? And I've got a couple, I won't say them out loud because they know who they are. But, give it a name. And then it's like, when that voice comes in, we're like, excuse me. You do not get to talk to me like that. We're not accepting that today, and like actually call it out by name, and like give it like your alter ego or whatever. And she'd be like, no. I see you there, Susan, or whatever you want to call it, Karen, or, like, no, not crazy Karen today. That's you don't get to play with me today.
Right.
And I always stick in an extra, like, and then just kind of affirm yourself a little bit too, and be like, you are not these things. You are in fact beautiful or worthy or whatever, So I like that that's from doing the work right there. That is from doing the work, because it is a hard concept to navigate.
It is. It absolutely is. And yeah, I'll kind of piggyback on what you said. It's understanding that even if you're mad or sad or happy, like all of these emotions are created equally. And it doesn't matter. We are not defined by how we feel in any given moment. We're just defined by our presence and our existence here. And that's, in my opinion, comes from just an outside kind of power. And some may call that God or the earth, or whatever else.
Spirit, universe, whatever.
Doesn't matter. I think to reach that level of like high spiritual existence, you have to believe in something higher than yourself to guide you. And I didn't have that for a really long time. My entire life, I always said that I never believed in God. And then it was, I went through all this stuff, and I remember the exact day I just hit my knees and I surrendered to my calling here.
Yeah.
And I just keep living it out and letting life unfold. And I believe in my daughter's power too, to help guide me. Living through them is how I'm able to be as happy and as excited as I am today.
So you bring up your daughter, and you very clearly love your daughter so much. It comes across in everything you do. You're constantly talking about them. You're constantly doing things for them. I think anybody who sees you are like, she must have 2 daughters she really loves.
I love the kiddos. Yes.
Yeah. So to those people, which I don't know if anybody actually said this to you, but I can guarantee they thought it or said it behind your back. And you're probably prepared for this, but to those people who were like, how could you do that to your kids?
Mm-hmm.
What's your response to that?
I wanted to save my kids from a lifetime of a miserable mother. I didn't want them. I didn't want her, because I didn't have Sophie at that point. I didn't want Reagan to grow up watching a mother who was just lethargic and unmotivated. And so in my mind, I was saving her because I knew that she'd be taken care of, because I have a wonderful family. To those people who think that, or, how could you do that to your daughter? It's hard to have that conversation. You're not in the right frame of mind.
Yeah.
But I was doing what I thought was best for her.
Mm-hmm.
And because, there's just so many different kind of perspectives you can take. You're going to have a mom that's miserable, and then the child suffers too. I don't know, but
Yeah.
that's still one I'm trying to figure out. It seems when a mom or a parent is suicidal, they always receive that.
Mm-hmm.
And
They do.
My response is, parents deserve to be happy too. And parents will have a life outside of being a parent. And sometimes we fail to think about that. I don't live my entire life for my children, but of course I love them dearly, but there is still this Ashley in there. I'm more than a parent. I'm more than a mom. I'm, I have an individual identity to myself too. So sometimes I just think we fail to recognize that, and especially with women and moms. It's like, we dump their entire identity into being a mom. And that's something I still struggle with sometimes. Like, I'm just here for my kids, but my situation right now is wonderful. The way I've worked it out with my co-parent, we the girls ship back and forth every other week, so both of us get a breath, and we can have our lives, our individual lives, and we have our parent, our parents. It works for us, and I'm very thankful for him and everything he's done. So
I'm glad you have that support, and I asked that knowing that that's a hard question to hear, but I hear it a lot. Like when people People will say that I am a suicide, I am a very vocal suicide prevention person, suicide advocate, right? I want to spread awareness about what people can do and whatever. I don't shut up about it. I wear shirts. I'm wearing a You Matter shirt right now. It's got like a thing on the back that says, this is your sign to stay. Like I will not cease until this is all like we've changed the culture, right? And then people will still say the stupidest stuff to me. And I'm like, and so I hear that a lot. I just don't understand how they can do that to their kids. And I'm like, well,
I think there's some people that are not meant to understand. And
well, I'm like, I don't understand quantum physics either, but here we are. So I just
I think a lot of those mental barriers are passed down from prior generations where mental health just wasn't discussed openly. We're changing that though, and the younger generations are very open. Gen Z is really proactive about changing the scene, but yeah, I'm the same way. I have To Write Love in Her Arms tattooed on my arm. It's my they're my favorite nonprofit. I actually, work them into my business model that I'm doing to recycle profits through them, because I just firmly believe that they're doing good work and to bridge these communication gaps. But I think that's just it. That's going to stay. We're always going to be working towards a better tomorrow, and we can just do the best we can. There's always just going to be barriers, and we have to accept that.
And to those people who have said that before, I have said it before I got into this work. I had said that before. And the reason I said it was because I had never been in that place, and I was trying, like it was a concept I could not understand. And we fear what we don't understand. And we're just our brains are trying to make sense of a world that doesn't make sense to us. And so it doesn't mean that you're a bad person because you've thought or said these things before or anything like that. It's just, now that you know better, please do better. And it's okay that you don't understand it. But when I ask you that question, your response was perfect. I want people to hear it from somebody who has been there. I thought it through. I thought that through. I was doing what was best for her. That's the perspective I was coming from. And people can't get that, they've got it in their heads that it's just, I have a problem. I can't. This is one that I said. This is one that I used in presentations. And it hurts my heart to say that I did that. But suicide is a permanent fix to a temporary problem. How many times I said that? And I mean, you've proven it here. There wasn't one thing. And it's so like, tunnel vision, like, okay, well, I have this one problem. I don't know how to get over it. Oh, I guess I'll exit. It's just not that simple. It's not that. There's so many confounding issues that go on. And you said it yourself. You're not currently suicidal, but you still have the ideations every once in a while. It still comes up. And you're going to deal with those. Like, that's probably for the rest of your life.
Yeah. I mean, and I think the more people that speak out about this too, especially, I was diagnosed with depression at a young age, mainly because I think that I wasn't getting the communication that I needed when I expressed myself. And that was the you need to, you shoulds, from people that just wanted to fix, and that's how they knew how to try to fix. But yeah, I was diagnosed with depression. I don't consider myself depressed anymore. Thankfully, I'm not on medication. I did use it prior, but I'm also one of those believers that thinks that it should be a bridge to better instead of a lifeline for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
That's how I've approached it. And like, what can I make this better? And how can I make this better? So I've gotten to a point where I just say I'm healed from depression, but that doesn't mean that I'm not still an emotional person. I accepted it. Yeah. I fight back against this toxic positivity that we have in culture, that we always have to be happy. we're made to be mad. We're made to be sad. We're made to be happy.
Yeah.
There's a lot to it, but I'm just thankful that I kept pushing myself through these different mental barriers and learning as I go, and accepting that it's not always going to be a straight line or perfect.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. Progress over perfection.
Progress over perfection. Preach.
Yeah.
And you drew a really cool parallel earlier, talking about our culture and the emphasis that we have on alcohol.
Mhm.
It drew this parallel for me. So I want to line it out and get your thoughts on it. So in corporate America specifically, I know in higher education, you go to conferences everywhere and it's all built around alcohol, right? And everybody gets their little alcohol tickets and they trade them like it's a currency, it's this thing, right? And I felt that pressure because I don't drink anymore either. It didn't make me feel good. And I found I was doing it because of the social pressure and not because I really wanted it. And so I was just like, I'm just gonna stop. I don't want to do this anymore. So I don't drink either, but you go to a conference and everything and everybody's carrying around their little glasses or whatever. And I just I've been like, can you just put some cranberry juice in a wine glass so people shut up and ask me why I'm drinking water? Because it's none of your business what is in my cup. Stop asking people that.
There is still a huge emphasis on, and even in just in conversation, if there's someone has something successful, go get a drink. And it's like, geez,
yeah,
why is that the answer or the response to just basically everything?
Right. But so the interesting part to me is like you're talking about this, there's this emphasis on alcohol everywhere. It's it's at conferences, you have a big event, let's go get drinks, let's get together and have drinks, let's make whatever, which is fine if everybody is happy with that, whatever. But the second you come out and you say you're an alcoholic or you're struggling and you're trying to get clean or whatever, it's just like, well, just stop drinking then. It's like this. You don't need to do it so much then, okay? Light bulb moments for people, I guess. But I see the parallel with suicide, and you have the world that is saying they just need to get over it. They need to look on the positive side, or they are unwilling to confront it when they're worried about somebody and kind of hands-off approach. I hope it gets better, but I don't want to be involved and all this stuff, like all these things. And then all of a sudden someone dies by suicide and it's, oh, I wish they would have reached out for help. Oh, I wish that they would have, I hate that. And now everybody's mourning and just heartbroken and everything. And I'm not making fun of that. I mean, it is a heartbreaking thing, but it's like this parallel, right? Of like inundated with everything wrong with it and everything. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, why didn't you do something about that? I wish they would have. And then this regret, there's this mirror that happens with it. I don't know. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it does. And I lost a friend this year by suicide, and it's heartbreaking. But what's even more heartbreaking are, of course it's really sad, and there's all these, you're going to have that crowd that's going to mourn. I wish they would have done this. Why are we placing so much on them instead of ourselves? I'm constantly just saying, even if someone crosses your mind, send them a text and be like, hey, just wanted to say hi. Even on social media, that I'm a marketer, so I'm constantly seeing how that side of life intertwines to create a healthier culture. And I could go on and on about that, but I'm always saying, if you've read a post, like it. If you love it. We're getting our dopamine hits now via social media reactions. So, even if you've just, I'm always saying this, even if you've seen a story, love it. Like, just support through these little tiny means. be so rewarding to somebody else. And I think that's where we're struggling now is, people showing up on social media and then they're trying to read the subtext of the reactions and on platforms that are like LinkedIn and Facebook, and they have multiple reactions and they're like, oh, why didn't I get as much love on this one as this one? And yeah, stuff like this is just contributing to an evolving culture that I feel is just misguided. But I think we're seeing, a shift, and younger generations like being on Instagram where there's only one reaction that doesn't have all this mind, mess happening. But yeah, I think we need to take a proactive approach on our own instead of blaming or putting so much pressure for somebody else who is already going through it to figure it out.
Exactly. Ashley, you are a woman after my own heart. You summarized my platform. That's because what are we doing? Blaming the sick person for being sick. What's happening? What is going on? You don't look at somebody who has just been diagnosed with diabetes and be like, well, you should think more positively, I guess. Like, that's not a thing. You can't tell somebody, I think you should produce more insulin and just see how that goes, right? Yeah. Like, that's not going to fix the problem. And so that's my whole thing is like, why are we putting all that emphasis on why didn't they reach out for help? Why didn't they blah? Mm-hmm. That's just like going up to somebody with diabetes and say, why didn't you produce more insulin?
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. What can we do? I'm the healthy one. And we're all like everybody is going to have highs and lows. That's how life works. We're all going to need help sometimes, and we're all going to be able to give help sometimes. And where you are in that cycle is just fine. And so if you see somebody hurting, then damn it, get in there and figure out how you can help them not hurt or hurt less. Yes. That's the whole point, right? And so and you said, like, even if somebody pops into your head, send them a text. Do you know I've done that 2 times? That I caught them either immediately after they had attempted suicide, like we had to call and get them, get an ambulance to their house, or they were sitting with a weapon in their lap, contemplating it. I didn't know that. I didn't even know they were struggling. I was literally like, I've just learned to trust that voice in my head, right? And so it's like, okay, I don't know why you're in my head at 10 o'clock at night, because Sissy should have been asleep an hour and a half ago, but I'm going to text you and just say, hey, thinking about you, wanted you to know I love you. And you never know what that's going to do on down the line.
Yep. Just those tiny actions and trusting your intuition and acting on them. And I'm constantly doing it. Hey, just want to touch base, say hello, hope you're well. Yeah. I have a couple friends, we always say welfare check. That's just always welfare check. And sending emojis back that we're good, because we're all busy and life is different, and it's speeding up even faster now, and there's so many. It's just a huge holistic picture that we have to consider too, that life's getting more expensive, and we're juggling this, and we're juggling technology, and we're trying to drink all of our water, and we're trying to keep up with friends and families. And it's like, oh, don't add anything more to my plate. So I just think it's important to take a breath and realize there is tomorrow, and it's ready and waiting for you. But, rushing through today, it's just not worth it.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're coming at the end of our time, so I want to give you a moment. We have a mixed audience of listeners. We have people who struggle with mental illness themselves, and we have a good mix of people who they're just here to help. It's scary. It's scary to know that somebody around them might be contemplating suicide and they don't know what to do, and so they just want to help and they listen for tips. So, given that audience in mind, message from you, what do you want them to for sure take away from this podcast?
My message is that there is always hope for a better tomorrow, and it exists even if you can't feel it in the moment. And if you can't, just do your best to breathe and realize and understand that you're not defined by how you feel right now. You're defined by your choice to keep going. And from the bottom of my heart and soul, I hope you do.
Yeah. Yes. Beautiful. You're not defined by your feelings. Your feelings don't determine your worth, just like your pant size doesn't determine your worth. Like,
That's right.
it's and spoiler alert for those of you who do struggle with body image issues, because we are talking about it on the podcast today. Also, no one can see the size of your pants, so just buy the ones that fit and go on about your life. Okay,
That's right. That's why I work remotely, because half the time
I'm pants. Yes. I'm like, I told somebody at my son's doctor's office the other day, they were wearing the cute, like they were like matched head to toe with their their shoes matched their scrubs and everything. And I was like, I would come in looking like a bridge troll every day if I got to wear scrubs. Like I would not be color coordinating. I tell you that for sure. And I would just like every year have to buy bigger pants because I would never know that I was expanding.
Yeah, I'm never going back to office job because I'm a Chuck Taylor like yoga pants every day.
Yeah. Same. Well, thank you so much. For those of the audience members who have fallen in love with you on this podcast, as I'm sure they have, how can they find you? How can they follow you?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn at Ashley Kesner. And then I also have an Instagram where I share the behind the scenes of how I'm creating my startup internship program. That's at Post-it PhD. And yeah, I got a lot of irons in the fire for sure. But like I said, when you work smarter, not harder, life gets a lot more fun. So
yeah. Okay. And so another thing, you were talking about this before we started to record, and I want to give you a chance to plug this. Tell us about the Tomorrow is Today.
Yeah, tomorrowistoday.com. It's actually Tomorrow SBDC. So it's kind of a version or a variation of a small business development center, but it's fully remote, and we're going to be raising funds hopefully to study for first fiscal year for my PhD dissertation, and hopefully pitch to investors to create paid positions that will contribute to future campaigns like the tablet takeover, providing iPads to graduating seniors. And also, it's just really important for me to provide the technical skills and education surrounding remote careers, because when I stepped into it, that affected my mental health because I wasn't used to it. So that's what we're working on now. My partner, John, and I, he is a Six Sigma yellow belt, which just means he's awesome. And I'm a creative freak. We just like to laugh and have fun, but I see a vision in a future for us that we're going to develop this company that people really can grow and thrive in, and I'm excited.
All right. And I will put this in the show notes, but for anybody who is looking to get involved with the Tomorrow is Today, it's tmrwistoday.com. Yeah.
Sure is.
So would love to send some folks over that way to see how they can help or get involved. Yeah. So thank you so much. This has been an absolute pleasure and a highlight of my day. I will consciously be vulnerable with the audience. Everybody goes through cycles of good mental health and bad mental health. The cycles very much depend on your own circumstances. And for whatever reason, I'm currently in a low. And I was just telling my best friend, I'm like, I don't know. I don't even know how to describe this feeling. I'm tired of feeling this way because I need to kick it, right? Like I have these strategies that I bring in for myself, and I'm like, I'm about down the checklist and I'm still not getting better and I'm tired. And so, but doing stuff like this, it's like it feeds joy back into my life, and it's like it feeds my soul.
Yeah, I'm starting my own podcast here soon, and it's called Cynical Not Clinical. I think laughing and just kind of making fun of some of these parts of life that we're struggling with, that's how I've coped. I'm a huge fan of memes and stuff too.
Yeah.
So, as a marketer, that's just part of the life.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's Cynical Not Clinical is coming out. I'm going to be talking with professionals all over, just about, kind of culture, employee remote work culture, but without the corporate bullshit.
Love it. I love it. And I did sneak a peek at that website too. And it's funny. That's anybody that cusses on their website. Hey, that's the girl for me. So
right. It's real.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure meeting you face to face, and excellent conversation. So
good. Thank you so much.
Okay. Over 50% of suicides can be linked back to some sort of drug or alcohol addiction. Over 50%. And we know that a lot of people mask their addiction really well, and most of us would never know. The best thing we can do is to continue to raise awareness to reach these people with the message of hope. That's what makes liking and subscribing so important. The more engagement we get with these podcasts through liking, sharing, and subscribing, the more people this message gets in front of. And Ashley is out to change the world, and we want to help her do that. So if you feel so led, please check out her website, tomorrowistoday.com. It's TMRWistoday.com, and it is linked in the show notes. Or check out her podcast, Cynical Not Clinical. Like I said, they're both linked in the show notes. And this is the kind of energy she brings to everything she does. And I think you will be better for knowing her. So that's another reason I had her on the podcast. Speaking of great people to have on the podcast, next week I have Yadik Tadla. He discusses the idea of not enoughness. And I don't know about you, but that resonates with me. The constant feeling of not enough. It's also the title of his new book. So he seemingly had it all, but still couldn't manage to get out of the bed and wanted to die. So his story is not one you want to miss. So tune in next week as we continue to learn how to intervene with ease.